Hello, hi guys. So today I would like to talk about this opening where white just invaded the corner, black took Sente, played a side extension on the right, and white wants to do something to this corner, and uh, turns out one of the possible moves against this two space high corner enclosure is an attachment. Um, and in this situation, black usually would prefer this Hane to ensure that his stones are connected. And then the recommended move, in fact the only move that white should play, is a crosscut. So this can get pretty complicated, but the most straightforward way to play for black is to just stay connected and play the extension here. And then sometimes white can leave Daji here, but a lot of the times white would just immediately use this Atari to invade the corner territory. So obviously black extends, and here, although white can live locally by extending at R2, giving black a Sente bend over here is too big. So for example here, to live here locally, white just needs to play a Tiger's Mouth. Say black plays a move like this to live here locally. This is Tatsuji, but this is white's territory is extremely small. It's basically just 2 points. So even though white can live here locally, white does not want to because it's too small. Therefore, white would usually extend once more. And now if black extends, white descends. Black bends. Now white can Tanuki play elsewhere. For example, here. Here black can kill white with a Ko. Note that you cannot play Hane because otherwise white still makes this Tiger's Mouth and white is still alive. So don't play the Hane. If you really want to kill white, you need to play the Ko right here. And white, if she wants to start the Ko, you'll be fighting over this one. But actually, the Ko is not that simple because white can fight this kind of Ko instead, where black actually owes an extra move to turn this Ko into a direct Ko. So this Ko is not super urgent. For example, say white plays another move. And black takes a Ko, black finds some sort of Ko threat. I don't know, say here. And then white can play another extra move, say here. And then finally black kills everything, but white can, black, basically the Ko in the beginning of the game is really not worth that much because there's so many other better moves that you can play. So that's why black would save the opportunity to play the Ko and kill white later on if possible. And therefore here you see the value of crawling on the second line here because right now when black bends, white can afford to Tanuki elsewhere. Yeah. So here, say black disliked the previous result. If black plays like this to take the corner, then black is making a huge mistake, even though he does take the corner. So white 2 stones are dead. But here, white has a really simple way to manage the outside group. Just underneath shoulder hit 2 space extension, and then white is already alive. I mean, black can get this in Sente. But the moment when black plays like this, white can just push once, and the white is already alive. I mean, black can capture a stone, and that's it. White's still alive. So this wall, it looks impressive, but it's facing the wrong side of the board where white already has 2 stones here. And here, black doesn't have a good extension. If black plays like this, white just leans on it. And whatever black gets is extremely limited, and white's development on the left side is most likely going to be superior to whatever black is going to get over here. So this is quite a painful situation for black, where he has the influence facing the wrong side of the board. So let's go back here. So Atari here is the mistake. Black, if he wants to take the corner, he must Atari from this side. And if white connects, then this is white's mistake, because if white connects, black just extends, white has to live on the second line, or at least attempt to live on the second line. Because at this point, black is not going to connect. Black is going to Tanuki. And later on, black is aiming at playing this move and start a ko. So for example, like now is probably not the right time to start a ko, but this is the kind of ko that you'll be fighting for. So with this double hane on all the way down to your first line, black can potentially kill the entire corner with a ko. And that's why it is a really bad idea for white to connect this stone. Here, white needs to give up this stone and just happily invade black's territory here, where black played this side extension. And obviously black cannot let white live that easily. And here locally, it turns out black doesn't even have a good follow-up to attack white anymore. So here, white can once again just play a corner enclosure. If black does want to kill white, he first needs to seal white in. So the best way to play a seal would be a nice move. And here, white needs to make 2 eyes. So this is threatening to capture this stone with a diagonal move and then a cut here. So for example, say black really wants to kill white. A really easy way to live is to just cut the stone off, and yeah, there's no good way to save this stone. Which means black owes a move here right now to defend the second line stone. Say black played this move, the cleanest way to defend and maximize the chance to kill, white can just play an Atari, and say black completely seals white. It's a nice seal, but with a capture and a capturing back, white has a really ugly way, but a simple way to live. An empty triangle, and black pokes out an eye, white just lives, black gets a sente hane. White lives with 2 points. While it seems painful, white did get an extra move here, which actually once again, you can see that this thickness or influence is facing the wrong side of the board. And once again, black does not have a great extension. So yeah, this extension is too narrow for black to be happy with. So basically at this point, yeah, white already successfully invaded black and can start playing these big corner enclosure moves in anticipation of black sealing white completely in. So now I would like to cover this variation where black plays this Atari. So note that this cross cut is only playable whenever the ladder is good for the invader. So that's why now when white extends, black cannot ladder these two stones. And when black cannot ladder, black still has to play basically either this or that. And if black plays like this, it will turn into a pretty complicated fight. So white cuts here, and black obviously would want to capture this cutting stone, but turns out the optimal sequence would involve pulling this stone first. Once again, this is threatening a ladder, but ladder is good for white. And then white bends, threatening to capture these two cutting stones. Now black comes back to defend the corner, and then white extends to help the top side. Black extends, and then here it will start a very difficult fight for both sides. But as you can see, in this fight, white has already extended a group into black's territory, and we can imagine that as the fight goes on, the lower side is going to become white's territory, most likely. So that's the idea behind the fight. That is, through the fight, you reduce your opponent's potential to build the moyo here around the two-space high corner enclosure. So in this situation, when black blocks the upper side, it turns out that Leela thinks that this is a mistake, because here black can just extend and kill. Although black can extend and kill everything here, Leela thinks that even though if everything dies here for white, the result is still going to be pretty good for white, which is really interesting. So let's look into this variations. So far everything is forcing. When white cuts, it's quite interesting. It's threatening to either ladder these two stones or this stone. So say if black protects this stone, white can ladder these two stones with this. Or if black plays like this, white can obviously ladder this. So black needs to defend these two stones in Sente. Usually an Atari like this is the easiest way to break the ladder in Sente. But here, black has a really nice Kosumi move to kill everything in this area. Yeah, so everything here is going to die, but Leela thinks that this result is still really good for white because of black's very poor Aji. So this bend takes advantage of black's really poor Aji, and then now Leela recommends an invasion with an attachment, and no matter which Hane black plays, the result is not going to be great because black has really bad Aji over here. Say black plays away from the bad Aji, white can right now just crosscut. And if black stays away from the region where there's bad Aji, white can actually force black to come into this region and then get a really nice attachment. Now white is aiming at this cut very soon. Say black runs out, white can just keep pushing. Black is already running out of good moves to defend this group. Say black runs, then white can already start a cutting sequence. So I think there are many ways to play this out, but here's one of the ways. If black tries to save this, white can just connect, threatening to capture these three stones. White needs to, black needs to kill these two stones, but then white can just extend this. So this is aiming at killing either these four stones or these three stones with basically a double Atari. And say basically black doesn't have a great move here. If black tries to save, say this, so this move will save the outside groups, but then white just bends over here, and then these cutting stones are all dead. Or if black blocks here, threatens to capture these cutting stones, white can just ladder these 4 stones down this way. So basically, yeah, the attachment is quite severe. Let's say if black goes down this way. If black goes down this way, then white can already immediately cut. White extends, threatening to kill these 3 stones. Black tries to capture these 2 stones. And then white can descend again. Again, it's aiming at a double threat, either killing these 4 or these 2. So if black continues to capture these 2, a really simple way to play is just a toddy, and then white just takes the outside. So black has pretty horrible aji from this variation. So if you're wondering about this Hane, turns out white can just cross-cut right now. Here, black plays a really calm move to extend. Right now, Leela recommends this one space net, which is really interesting because it's taking advantage of black's poor aji here, and it's also aiming to potentially develop a huge wall facing this side of the board. So say if black plays one space jump to avoid getting completely sealed, basically an attachment over here, white has a pretty interesting result, pretty interesting way to take advantage of black's aji. So here is a shake move, and then white can start a move like this, threatening to capture these stones. Black has to capture 2 stones. White can once again get this incente. Black captures. And then it was recommended by Leela to make this exchange as well. And finally, here, even a really simple 2-space jump is already sufficient. And Leela recommend this for white, and white winning rate should be about 70%. And I think this is quite interesting because it feels like black is playing a 2-stone handicap game where black has not had a chance to approach either of the corners and has spent so many moves on one side of the board. I think black's territory is roughly about 40 points, but with not much potential to develop at all, whereas basically white has influence in the center, white's corners are not approached, white has a lot of potential to develop. So this is a pretty interesting strategy to play against an opponent who likes to develop one side of the board and invest. Basically black end up investing too many moves down here and became over concentrated. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.